corporate reconstruction and reorganization. Now, there are two keywords here. The first is a reconstruction, while the second is reorganization. So what is corporate reconstruction? A reconstruction scheme is carried out by a company that is in financial difficulties. That is, the company is unable to meet its financial obligation as they fall due. Okay, we are not just looking at short-term liquidity problem that can be maybe fixed by managing your working capital properly, your cash management, your debtors management, and maybe inventory management and some other indices. But here we are looking at a company that is insolvent, unable to meet its obligation as they fall due. It may be interest payments to debtors. It may also be principal repayments. It may also get to a point where the company may no longer be able to pay suppliers. It may get to a point where the company begins to struggle to pay its staff. And if that happens, the company will be tending towards liquidation. So how can a company avoid this type of situation? Because it's not just by managing the working capital and all of that, but the company may need to restructure its capital base. Restructuring the capital base, when we are talking about capital base, we are looking at the capital structure of the company, the composition of debt and equity. So the company may want to restructure its capital base by converting debt to equity or converting debt from one level to another. So you may say, why convert debt to equity? Yeah, the company may be finding it difficult to pay interest on debt. Or if it is converted to equity, that pressure will be less. And also principal repayments. The pressure for principal repayment will not be there any longer. Then debt from one form to another. It may be a short-term debt. The company may negotiate to convert that debt to a long-term debt, a longer period, after which maybe the company might have stabilized and have that capacity to settle the debt. But for the reconstruction scheme to be effective, all the parties involved in the company, all stakeholders, must agree to the reconstruction scheme. Remember that in sharing the company's assets by the administrator, there are priority of payments. Some debtors are secured while some are unsecured. So during this period, the secured debtors, even the unsecured debtors, they will all look at, okay, if the company liquidates, what are we going to get? But what if the company capital base is being restructured and the company go back to business? What are we going to get? A comparison is made, and this will inform the decisions of the stakeholders whether to go with the reconstruction scheme or to allow the company to liquidate. But for a reorganization, this occurs when a company wants to take some strategic decision, but reorganization happens for strategic reasons. That has to do with restructuring the company by unbundling some parts of the company. Okay, when we're talking about unbundling, it's a process whereby a company that has different divisions, more than one division, split up those divisions by either demerging them or divesting them. When we're talking about demerging, we mean, okay, the company has 4 different units or divisions. You separate those divisions, and each of the divisions stands as a separate entity. Okay, a company may also want to divest some of those divisions. It means that the company is selling off that particular division to a third party. So now we said reorganization is for strategic reasons. So what are the reasons? Why will a company want to reorganize its structure? Okay, reorganization falls into two broad areas. One is divestments. One is divestments. And the other is demerger. We are talking about divestments. One thing is certain there. It means the company is selling. The company is selling. When you are talking about divestment, the company is selling to a third party. Okay? So the company may decide to divest a unit or decide to divest maybe an asset. Okay? But it involves selling to a third party. And what is the reason why a company wants to sell part of its business to a third party? When you are selling part of your business, I want you to take this into consideration that you are not selling core business in a divestment, because your core business is the reason why your company is in business. Agree with me that every industry has their own peculiarity. So if you have a company that is managed by the same board, but the company has divisions across different industry, it may be difficult for each of these divisions to draw up a strategy that we fit into their operations. Or it may even be that the CFO, the chief operating officer, even the board, they may not have in-depth knowledge on that particular industry. But when you split it up, you bring in experts in each of these industry to run the affair of that company. And as a result, the company may be able to realize more value because each of the division is now being run by experts in that line. The next one is that it enables the company also to focus on its core business. When you split the company, when strategies are developed for each of these units, then the various units can focus on their core business, and this will improve management efficiency. So the advantages of the mergers is just almost the same thing as the reasons for the demerger. Okay, so what are the advantages of the merger? One, as we said earlier on, it makes a company focus on its core business. Number two, you are not selling to a third party. It's just splitting the company. So the shareholders will still remain the owners of the business. And value is also being created for the company. When the company has splitted, efficiency increase because of what? Every division builds their own strategy and run with it. But there are some disadvantages with respect to the merger. The costs of demerging these companies may be high. Economy of scale may also be lost, where some of these demerged division has operation in common. The company may not be made up of equal division in terms of size. So if you demerge, the smaller company may have a lesser image and status. And number three, or the fourth reason, may be that raising extra finance may be a little bit challenging for the smaller company that is being demerged. So there are some forms of demerger and also some other forms of divestments. So a sell-off is a form of divestment. Sell-off means that you are selling off an asset to a third party. So it's a form of divestment, selling off an asset to a third party in exchange for cash. Spin-off. A spin-off is a form of demerger, which just means you are separating the divisions to ensure that each of these divisions run separately. So under the spin-off, the shareholder in company A, if we have a company ABC, the shareholders in company A will still be the same as shareholders in company B. So if you have 50% in company A before the spin-off, after the spin-off, you still have 50% in company A and company B. But after the company has been spun off, a shareholder that has share in any of these divisions may decide to sell or buy more after the company has been spun off. A carve-out, what is a carve-out? A carve-out is in between divestments and demerger. So it has both elements, but it's the creation of a new company by detaching part of the company and selling shares to the public to create that new company. But the shares that is going to be sold to the public will not be majority of the shares. So the owners of the company will still have majority. So they will sell a little to be able to raise money to complete that process. Okay, so in a spin-off, in a carve-out, sorry, the company raises money in a carve-out by selling part of the shares to the public. Okay, so the difference between the carve-out and the demerger or sell-off is that it has elements of both selling and separating. So it has the element of divestment and also the element of what? A demerger. So management buyout, MBO. What's the management buyout? This is a situation whereby the existing management team of a company purchase the company from their owner or from the owners. That is a management buyout, existing management buying over a company. So there are some advantages to the shareholders. One is that they are able to raise money. Number two is that there is a known buyer. There's a known buyer. So they don't need to spend a lot of that money trying to advertise and get a buyer for the company. There's already a known buyer. And the costs may be less than other forms of divestments. And it's also, the process will be faster. Then what are the advantages to the management team? You know, most of the time when there's going to be a takeover, the fear of the board or the management is that they are going to lose their job. But if they're able to buy over the company through a management buyout, then their job is being preserved. Again, to start a business from scratch is not always very easy, but if they're able to buy over the company from the existing management, from the existing owners, then it's going to be a faster way of establishing such business. It also offers management perspective of significant equity participation in the company. So in a management buyout, most of the time, the management, they don't raise 100% of the money needed for the purchase. So the purchase may be done also through a leverage buyout, whereby management borrows money from a bank or they bring on board a venture capitalist. So these are the two ways that management can raise money for a management buyout. So where they don't have enough money, they may approach a venture capitalist or approach a bank for support to be able to complete the payments. So what are the disadvantages of this to the management team? Customers may decide to pull out of the deal, most especially when the industry or the company is customer sensitive. Like for financial institutions, for instance, anything that happens where there's going to be a change of management, change of board, there's always this tension. So customers may start withdrawing their money and they pull out from the company and patronize other companies within the same industry. Suppliers also may decide to change the terms of their agreements. They decide to reduce maybe the credit limits, or they may decide to reduce the credit period. Some may even pull out of the contract entirely where they are not confident about it. Employee may also tend to resist the management team because they are familiar with them. So if they are coming up with new rules, new laws that they feel is going to affect them, they may want to resist the management. Okay, so we also have management buy-in. This occurs when an external management team buys a business from its owner. So now looking at management buyout and management buy-in, what are the striking advantage of one over the other? Okay, there are really no advantage of one over the other, but it depends on the way you are looking at it or where you are looking at it from. Okay, we may say the existing management team may be the problem of the business. So if they take over the business, that problem may still persist, right? That may be like a disadvantage. But if a new management team come, we may say those management team, they will come with expertise and knowledge. They may have a better knowledge than the existing management team, and as such, they may be able to run the business better. But also, you may want to look at it from that direction that, okay, the existing management team, they've been running the business for quite a number of years, and they may have a better understanding about the system and the peculiarity of that particular company. So if an external management team takes over that company, they may not have in-depth knowledge of the operation of the company. Also, you may want to say that if an external management team comes into the company and they have knowledge of the industry, they have contacts, it may be easy for them to run, such that they already have a customer base. That's the existing company that they are taking over. And also they have link from where they are coming. So their customer base may improve as a result of this. So it just depends on where you are looking from or where you are bringing your arguments from. Okay. So now there's an example here on reconstruction. It's an example here on reconstruction. Remember, reconstruction has to do with the capital base of a company being restructured.